Alyssa Morales from Black Women TV. 20 years later, they're still talking about this show. People are still watching it. You know, it's not a Marvel movie. It's not a Disney show. It's The Wire. You know, how happy is it that, you know, whenever as actors you work and you never know what's going to stand the test of time. You know, you don't do it for that. But here's a show that with so many characters, people are still talking about it. Jim?
Yeah, it feels great. It's, you know, every passing year has just been kind of like another, like, pinch myself. I can't believe it's still, people are still watching, people are still coming up and saying, I just started The Wire. You know, it's really, it's like, it's that thing that's just catching on, but it just keeps catching on. And I just feel really privileged to have been a part of it. It's great to be, you know, celebrating an anniversary like this.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Lance?
It's a little, it's funny because I feel like the Wire has become such a part of American culture and so identified with American culture around the world that I sometimes I just kind of take it, it's reached the point where I almost take it for granted. But when I think about 10 years ago and how I was kind of amazed at how it kept getting bigger the farther away we got from it, to the point where now 20 years later, I'm kind of, it's surreal. I mean, there's no, it's if I think about it too hard, it's surreal.
Yeah.
You know, the beauty about, you know, people talk about how the show didn't get any acting wins or nominations, but that's a good thing because it was a great ensemble. And so everybody stood out. And as I think now, there's certain shows where one talent was singled out or another, that's what you'll remember. You know, as opposed to like, oh, here's a show that no one got in, but any given episode, everybody's, you know, somebody's standing out, you know? And so each of you have gone on to do different work. But going back, was there a moment when you knew that this show was something special out after it was over? Or was it during the show or was it after the show when you knew it was more special to the people that were watching it?
I mean, you want to go, Jim, or should I?
No, go ahead.
Well, I thought it was special from the moment I read the pilot. I'd never read a pilot like that. It's the first time I ever read, and it's only ever happened really maybe one other time where I read a pilot and I felt like I have to be on the show. And unlike the other time that it happened, which was many years later, I didn't even know what character I wanted to play. It was just that good. And then once we started shooting it, as we were moving toward the end of the first season, and we were meeting with a publicist, and we were talking about doing publicity for the show, I just knew that we were, I don't know what language I could, I just knew we were shit. I knew we were that good. Yeah. So when season after season happened and we kept not getting nominations, I just started getting really angry. So I'm happy now.
Now, you know, obviously this was a series, and this is obviously way before television is what it is now. Too many shows, a lot of channels. You know, when the show was over, how did this impact the work you got afterwards? Were you able to, you know, were people able to watch your performances here, or did you have to struggle a little bit trying to let people know, hey, I was on The Wire, and then show them the tapes because DVDs were just starting out?
Well,
Jim?
Oh, you know, I don't have anything specific about The Wire, but, you know, it was great. It was my first job as a regular on a series. So for me, it was just the repeated work and the repeated relationships with the actors and the directors and the writers enabled me to just really work on my craft. So anything that came after that for me was just like, you know, I can always say I never could have done my work as well as I'm doing it now if it wasn't for The Wire. I feel like I cut my teeth there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, funny enough, I've seen both of you on episodes of Law and Order, and I know those episodes. And I was like, that's right. If you just like, these guys want to look, that's right. You know, I remember them now. And Lance, you know, obviously, you know, all the roles you've done afterwards are so different from the others. So it's good I was talking to some of the other actors that you weren't pigeonholed or typecast based on the role.
At first I was, actually. It really wasn't until John Wick that started changing. That year that started changing. I mean, that was an interesting year because I did that same year I did American Horror Story where I played Papa Legba. But I also shot the pilot for Bosch that same year. And I almost didn't do that job because it was like, I just spent the last 10 years playing a cop in charge. I don't want to do it again. This could be the nail in the coffin to my career artistically. So I feel like
do it so
I'm
well.
lucky.
You know, here's the thing, you know, being that you just said that just now, can you do comedy? Do you have the funny bones to make people laugh? Because people seen you for 10 years, are like, hey, you always play these strong, supporting characters that they can't see you play a weak guy.
Oh, I've even the comedy stuff I've done. I mean, you know, corporate. You know, I'm a CEO of a multinational corporation. I mean, it was like, even though I got to be a clown, it was still kind of the head guy. I've rarely played. A lot of authority figures, but by the same token, I feel like just when I thought I was going to be typecast forever is when I was like 51 years old when I did John Wick and Papa Legba. So I thought it was kind of over. So I hate saying this kind of stuff, but I was just lucky.
Before I let you go, Jim, of all the work that you've done, does any of your performances or scenes from The Wire stand amongst your top 5 from the work you've done, whether it be a movie or another episode of a show or so forth?
Oh yeah, I'd have to say it's hard to pick a particular scene, but the whole of season 4, when I was playing, when Prez becomes a teacher in the public schools in Baltimore, and that was part of so many great stories there, whether it was Prez dealing with his former friends on the detail who are looking for information on some of his students, and I get to play scenes with Freeman and Bunk who are coming around the classroom, you know, talking about my students, and I'm sticking up for them, or scenes where I'm dealing with the teachers and learning about the absolute, you know, corruption in the school district, what's keeping the schools from becoming, you know, something that really is serving the kids. You know, all of those deep stories just made that character and that season really top on my top, you know, way at the top of my top 5.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Let's keep it going. Talk that 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, because this is always going to stay out there. Have a good one.
Thank you. Good talking to you.